She said, "You're so insecure, always checking on me." I replied, "Don't worry, you won't have to deal with that anymore." That night, I packed my things and left without a word. What she found on the kitchen table. The next morning, left her speechless. I'm Connor, 29, and 7 weeks ago, I discovered that trusting your instincts isn't insecurity. It's self-preservation. My girlfriend Mara and I had been together for just over 2 years. We met at a friend's wedding, both seated at the singles table, bonded over bad DJ music and overpriced bar drinks. She was spontaneous where I was cautious, outgoing where I was reserved. For a while, that balance worked. Then somewhere along the way, it stopped working and started hurting. We'd been living together for about 14 months in my apartment, a place I'd been renting for 3 years before she moved in. The rent was $1,850 a month, utilities another $200 or so. We'd agreed to split everything 50-50, but agreed is generous. She paid her half, maybe 70% of the time, always with excuses about timing or cash flow or unexpected expenses. I let it slide because I made more than her, and I figured that's what you do when you love someone. The problem started around 6 months ago. Mara began going out more. Girls' nights that used to happen once a month became twice a week. She'd come home at 2 a.m., sometimes 3 a.m., sometimes later. When I'd ask how her night was, she'd give vague answers. Fine. Fun. You know, just drinks and dancing. I tried to be cool about it. Tried to be the understanding boyfriend who didn't need constant updates, but something felt off. The way she'd angle her phone away when texting. The way she'd started showering immediately after getting home from these nights out. The way she'd become defensive when I'd ask simple questions. 3 months ago, I asked her where she'd been until 4 a.m. on a Thursday night. Out with Stephanie and Lauren, she said, not looking up from her phone. Until 4 a.m. on a weeknight? Yeah, we lost track of time. Why are you interrogating me? I'm not interrogating you. I'm asking about your night. It feels like interrogating. You're always checking on me, always asking where I am and who I'm with. It's exhausting. I ask because I care. Because you're my girlfriend and I like knowing you're safe. Or because you don't trust me. That stung. Do I have a reason not to trust you? She looked at me then, and there was something cold in her expression. The fact that you're asking that question tells me everything. We didn't talk for the rest of that night. I apologized the next morning. I don't even remember what for. And things went back to normal. Or what passed for normal in our relationship by that point. The breaking point came 3 weeks ago on a Saturday night. Mara was getting ready to go out around 8 p.m. I was on the couch, reading, when she came out of the bedroom in a dress I'd never seen before. Short, black, expensive looking. New dress? I asked. Yeah, picked it up last week. It's nice. Where are you headed? Downtown. Meeting some friends? Which friends? She grabbed her purse, checked her lipstick in the hallway mirror. Just some people from work. I thought you were going out with Stephanie and Lauren. They might show up later. I don't know. It's not like we have a formal itinerary, Connor. I'm just asking. You're always just asking. You're so insecure, always checking on me. It's honestly pathetic. The word hung in the air between us. Pathetic. I set my book down. What did you just say? You heard me. You're insecure. You can't handle me having my own life. Every time I go out, you need to know every detail. Where I'm going, who I'm with, when I'll be home. It's suffocating. I ask because you're out 4 or 5 nights a week until 3 a.m., and you won't tell me anything about where you are or who you're with. That's not insecurity. That's noticing a pattern. There's no pattern. You're paranoid. Then show me your phone. Her face changed. Excuse me? If there's nothing to hide, show me your phone. Absolutely not. That's a huge invasion of privacy. We're in a relationship, Mara. We live together. I don't think asking to see your phone when you're behaving suspiciously is unreasonable. The fact that you think I'm behaving suspiciously is the problem. This is what I'm talking about. You don't trust me. You're always assuming the worst. I can't live like this anymore. Then don't. She blinked. What? If it's so suffocating and pathetic living with me, then don't. Don't worry, you won't have to deal with that anymore. Oh my God, you're being so dramatic. I'm being honest. I'm tired of being called insecure for asking basic questions. I'm tired of feeling crazy for noticing that you're distant and secretive. I'm done. Connor, stop. You're overreacting. Maybe I am. but I'd rather overreact and be wrong than ignore my gut and be right. She stared at me for a long moment, then shook her head. Fine, I'm going out. We'll talk when I get back and you've calmed down. Don't bother coming back tonight. What? Stay wherever you end up. Stay with Stephanie. Stay downtown. Stay wherever you've actually been spending your nights. Just don't come back here tonight. This is my apartment too. It's my name on the lease. And tonight I want you gone. She opened her mouth to argue, then seemed to think better of it. You're going to regret this. Probably not. She left, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the frame. I sat there for maybe 5 minutes, heart pounding, trying to figure out what I'd just done. Then I got up and started packing. Update 1I didn't pack everything that night. Just enough to get by for a week or two. Clothes, toiletries, laptop, important documents. I called my buddy Travis, who'd been telling me for months that my relationship seemed toxic. He answered on the second ring. You okay, man? It's almost 9 p.m. on a Saturday. Can I crash at your place for a bit? What happened? I'll explain when I get there. Yeah, of course. Doors unlocked. Before I left, I did something I'd been avoiding for months. I opened Mara's laptop, the one she left at home because she only used her phone when she went out. We shared the same iCloud account, set it up when we first moved in together for sharing photos and calendars. I'd never looked through her stuff before, never had a reason to, or maybe I'd just been too scared to confirm what I already suspected. I opened her messages, scrolled back through recent conversations, found one thread that made my stomach drop. The contact was saved as Dan Work. The messages went back 4 months. Started professional enough, questions about projects, scheduling meetings. Then they got friendlier. Inside jokes, late-night texts. Then flirtier. Then explicit. I won't detail what I read, but it was enough. Enough to confirm I wasn't insecure or paranoid. Enough to confirm that every time she called me pathetic for asking questions, she'd been projecting her own guilt onto me. I took screenshots, dozens of them, sent them to my own email. Then I did something that felt simultaneously petty and justified. I printed out the worst ones. The messages where she complained about me. The messages where she made plans to meet Dan at hotels. The messages where she told him things about our relationship that she'd never told me. I left the printed messages on the kitchen table, stacked neatly, maybe 20 pages total. On top, I left a note written on a yellow legal pad. You were right. I was insecure. Insecure because my gut kept telling me something was wrong, and you kept telling me I was crazy. Turns out my gut was right. I found the messages with Dan. All of them. I'm not angry, I'm just done. The lease is paid through the end of next month. After that, you're on your own. Don't contact me. Don't try to explain. We're finished. Connor. I left my key on top of the note, grabbed my bags, and walked out. It was 10:47 p.m. I got to Travis's place around 11:15 p.m., and he took one look at my face and just pointed to his guest room. Talk when you're ready, he said. I slept better that night than I had in months. Update 2I woke up Sunday morning to 34 missed calls and 62 text messages, all from Mara. I didn't read most of them, just skimmed enough to get the general progression. Confusion at first, then panic when she found the note, then anger, then desperate attempts at explanation and apology. The calls kept coming throughout the day. I finally answered around 3 p.m. Connor, thank God. Don't. Please, let me explain. There's nothing to explain. I read the messages, Mara. All of them. It didn't mean anything. You met him at hotels. Multiple times. You complained about me to him. You told him you were planning to break up with me once you figured out the living situation. Does any of that sound like it didn't mean anything? Silence. Then crying. I made a mistake. I'm so sorry. Please, can we just talk about this in person? No. Connor, please. How long, Mara? How long were you seeing him? It wasn't like that. How long? 4 months. But we only met up a few times. I don't care. 4 months. 4 months of you calling me insecure for noticing that something was wrong. 4 months of you gaslighting me into thinking I was the problem. I never meant to hurt you. You just meant to cheat on me and get away with it. That's somehow better? I was confused. Things between us weren't good. So instead of talking to me about it, you started seeing someone else? You were always questioning me, always making me feel guilty for going out. Because you were doing something wrong. I wasn't insecure, I was right. She was crying harder now. What do we do now? I already told you. We're done. The lease is paid through next month. After that, you need to find somewhere else to live. I can't afford this place on my own. Not my problem. You should have thought about that before you started meeting Dan at hotels. Connor, please. I love you. I made a mistake, but I love you. You don't love me. You love the stability I provided. You love having someone to split rent with and someone to come home to when Dan wasn't available. That's not love. That's not fair. Life's not fair, Mara. I'm hanging up now. Don't call me again. I blocked her number right after I hung up. Blocked her on social media. Blocked her email. Complete cutoff. Travis made dinner that night, pasta and beer, and we sat on his couch while I told him everything. He didn't say much, just listened and nodded, and occasionally said, "That's rough, man," at appropriate moments. "You did the right thing," he said finally. "Doesn't feel like it. It will. Give it time." Final update, that was 7 weeks ago. I haven't spoken to Mara since that phone call. She tried reaching out through mutual friends a few times, but I made it clear I wasn't interested in any contact. She moved out of my apartment 3 weeks ago. Left the keys with the building manager with a note that just said, "I'm sorry." I moved back into my place last week. It felt different, emptier, but in a good way, like I could breathe again. I deep cleaned everything, got rid of stuff that reminded me of her, rearranged the furniture, made it mine again. I found out through a mutual friend that Mara and Dan aren't together anymore. Apparently, once everything came out into the open, he wasn't interested in an actual relationship. Just the affair. She's living with her sister now, trying to figure things out. I don't feel bad for her. Maybe I should, but I don't. She made her choices, and now she's dealing with the consequences. Travis asked me last week if I thought I'd overreacted by leaving the printed messages on the table. Maybe, I said, but she needed to know that I knew, that I had proof. Otherwise, she would have tried to lie her way out of it. Fair enough. You doing okay? Yeah, actually I am. Better than I've been in months. And it's true. I'm sleeping better. Eating better. Not constantly anxious about where my girlfriend is or whether she's lying to me. Not being made to feel crazy for trusting my instincts. The apartment is quieter, but it's peaceful. My phone isn't blowing up at 2 a.m. anymore. Nobody's calling me insecure for having basic expectations in a relationship. My mom asked me on the phone yesterday if I was dating anyone new. I told her no, that I was taking time to figure myself out and reset my standards for what I'll accept from a partner. Good, she said. You deserve someone who makes you feel secure, not someone who makes you question your sanity. She's right, I do. And next time I won't ignore the red flags just because I'm afraid of being called insecure. Next time, I'll trust my gut from day one. Edit. For everyone asking why I didn't confront her about Dan before leaving. Because I knew she'd lie. She'd been lying for months. The only way to end it cleanly was to remove myself from the situation completely and let the evidence speak for itself. Edit 2. Yes, I could have handled the printed messages thing differently. Some people think it was harsh, others think she deserved it. I'm somewhere in the middle. It was the right move for me in that moment, and I don't regret it.